bleeding bad, we need to get into him.
Cedar Rapids Police! Police Department!
A triple homicide anywhere would be a big story.
There's a subject down.
We hadn't seen one, I think, since 1982.
Police Department! Cedar Rapids Police, if anyone's inside, sound out now!
It's mom, dad, sister. No names.
115, we have 3 victims. Start us at least 3 ambulances.
This all needs to be...
Some guy broke in and killed everybody, and the son survived and took off.
Alex had said that the intruder came and went from the back door in the basement.
As a man, we swear. My father. I got shot.
I know it's you're the only one that can tell us.
When you look at this neighborhood, if someone was going to do a home invasion, this would be the perfect neighborhood for it.
Agent 4 and Adam 39.
It was all hands on deck.
Is that the gun that killed those 3 people?
Yes.
This set of murders shook this community to its core. The only word I can use to describe what happened to this family is tragic.
Your wife is in a bar. You said she's unresponsive.
This is what he's going to tell you.
How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything?
We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
County Sheriff, where is your emergency?
Someone broke into our house. Our address is Oakleaf Court, Northeast. I've been shot. My other family member's been shot. I need help immediately.
This neighborhood particularly was affluent, to say the least. Primarily wealthy families,
including the Jackson family.
There was Melissa, the mother, Jan, the father, Sabrina, the younger sister, and Alex.
Just stay on the line with me, okay? What's your first name?
I'm Alex.
Okay, what's going on?
There's someone broke in.
Okay.
I've been shot.
You've been shot?
My dad's been shot.
Okay, hold on just a second. Are they still there?
No, they left.
They left? Did they come inside the house?
Yeah.
Okay, where were you shot at?
Downstairs.
No, on your body. On your body, where have you been shot?
Foot.
I'm sorry, where?
Foot.
Do you know who broke in?
No.
Okay. Did you get a look at them?
No. I think I spoke. No.
You think what?
I'm
Okay, I've got officers in the back and the front. That's why they're ringing your doorbell.
Alright.
I just rang the doorbell. The caller hear it. I'm getting no answer at the door. I think this is going to be a swatting deal.
They're just not sure what they're walking into. You don't know if it's a swatting call, swatting being someone making a false phone call to the police department to get police to respond. You don't know if it's a real emergency.
Right, but this sounds if there's people in the house, there's no reason they can't come out.
Let me grab Forrest and I'll just take her with our side.
Police Department!
There's a subject down.
The first person he sees is Jan Jackson on the ground.
Can you put your hands out to the side where I can see them?
And he asked Mr. Jackson to show his hands because he doesn't realize that Mr. Jackson is deceased.
Oh, I have my hand on my sweat.
Alex Jackson is down the hallway and he's the one that's talking.
We got a door here. Who's this down here?
Hey, who are you?
Dad.
That's your dad?
What happened?
What happened?
He came down. There was a man.
This guy looks like he's got gunshots for him.
115 multiple victims. One has a gunshot wound to the head. The other is wounded in the leg.
Who shot your...
Who else is here?
My sister.
She's back?
Yeah, she's in her room.
Is she okay?
I think so. Sabrina?
Sabrina? Is that a room right there?
Yeah.
She was laying there in bed under the covers in what appeared to be a fetal position, and she was deceased with one very apparent injury to her left eye.
Third victim?
Yeah.
Yeah. 115, we have 3 victims. Start us at least 3 ambulances.
Who's with me?
Come in front of me, Barber.
Yep.
Around, you go help Kaczynski, and then we'll come in.
Watch my back. I want to start here. You want to hold it? Police department! Sound off if you're here! Police department!
Cedar Rapids Police, if anyone's inside, sound off now!
Police department?
Can you get this closet quick?
They were unaware of who all was in the home. They engaged in a protective sweep of the home to make sure that it was empty of an intruder.
Yeah, I got a garage back here. I'm gonna check the garage. Yeah, that's fine. Well, assuming there's a mother around here somewhere.
Looks like a master bedroom. Fourth victim.
So we had triple homicide?
Mom, when we found her, was laying on the bedroom floor. There were multiple bullet holes in the headboard and in the pillow on the bed.
Are you able to walk or limp?
What's your name? What's your name?
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah.
Alex, what happened?
There was a man.
What man?
A tall man.
Breathe and relax, all right?
She get my mom.
Yep, we're getting everybody. You're Alex, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Alex. I want you to relax and worry about yourself right now. I think he's in shock about everything.
We're gonna help you out. I gotta put on gloves real quick.
Alex. Holy Alex. 20? Okay. 1, 2. Put your weight on your other foot.
Okay, we're gonna have to limp out.
Okay.
Coming out to you.
Yeah.
You're good.
You want me to go with him?
Yeah, if you want to.
Or bring your car up, either one. Okay. I tried asking him, he didn't. Yeah. He just said there's a man, and that's all the further we got.
Alright. First one is right here. Shot in the head.
Looks to be a 22. Well, the rounds on the floor are 22s, so.
You're going to shoot.
Shell casings right here.
Okay.
We have confirmed all 3.
Yeah. You don't know anything about anybody yet? I'm assuming it's mom, dad, sister.
Okay.
No names.
To see a family at home, comfortable, who have been executed, it was definitely troubling.
Start tonight at 10 with breaking news just into the newsroom. 61-year-old Jan Jackson, 68-year-old Melissa Jackson, 19-year-old Sabrina Jackson, all found dead in their home on Oakleaf Court around 8:30 this morning. Stay with us for updates and reports on this chilling story. The basic shock of 3 people dead in a home in a quiet neighborhood really shook people. Some guy broke in and killed everybody, and the son survived.
And almost immediately, police began to search the surrounding neighborhood for the intruder.
Cedar Rapids Police K9, anybody in the area, sound off, you will be bit by my dog.
For that time of the day, for that area, very out of the ordinary. It was all hands on deck.
We got to the hospital right as Alex Jackson was arriving.
Been on stable, I guess 100% all.
We could see he had an injury to his foot.
How bad are you hurting right now? Okay. After the pain meds I gave you?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you rate it 0 to 10 to be in the worst?
It's like a 2. Stay with him.
Huh?
Stay with him.
So that is.
Yeah. He's.
The uniformed officer had a body camera on him, so we kept that camera rolling. And we just followed him right into the ER so they could treat his foot.
Hey Alex, my name's Sarah, and I'm an investigator with the police department. Okay? This is my partner Matt.
At that point, we knew that he was reporting there had been an intruder in his house and that he had confronted the intruder and the intruder had left the house.
Were you guys saying anything, or did you talk to him about it? I know it's but we weren't there, but you're the only one that can tell us.
We didn't have a choice to not interview him right then and there. He's the only person that can tell us what this suspect looks like, so we can go find the killer before this happens to anybody else.
I don't know why he was there.
There was a white man, black man, Hispanic, Asian.
Oh, what? I know he's wearing black clothes. I heard it downstairs. So I went downstairs. He was messing with my dad's gun. What kind of gun? 22. Right? Yeah. He had a mask on. It was like, oh, he had one of those ski masks or whatever. On a ski mask. Yeah. Did you see his hair? No. How about his shoes? I think they're great. I can't tell you if I'm right.
You can see throughout this videotaped interview, you can see us on our phones. We're getting text messages from people that are out at the scene.
Officer Buckles and his K9 Corsa were still on the hunt.
Their assignment was to track the area that most likely would have been the route that the intruder would have took when he left the home.
So I'll work that. We can work up in this yard here, but like I said, the sergeant and all them will walk through here, so. Make sure no one, if she's not picking anything up coming through here, so.
K9 wasn't having any success.
Other officers canvassed neighbors for surveillance videos.
The first place I start is the house closest to them, which was right across the street. Started at about 6 a.m. and went through the footage until approximately 8:30 when I saw patrol officers arriving on scene and in the area, and just to see if there was anything on the camera footage showing evidence of a possible intruder. There was nothing.
Alex had said that the intruder came and went from the back door in the basement. You want to see if that's been pried open, has that been kicked open? There was no signs of anything disturbed.
Although we had these red flags, we were also open to the idea that maybe, maybe this really did happen.
You pushed him. Did he say anything to you?
F*** you. I think I grabbed the gun. But he let my go. I fired. And then, obviously, that happened.
So when you and him were struggling with the gun?
Yes, struggle gun.
They did their whole workup on the gun. They found 2 handprints, one from the right hand and the left hand, that both matched Alex Jackson. There was no evidence that anyone else was pulling on the gun or wrestling with the gun as he was holding it.
When we stepped out, we talked to coworkers. They were up at your house. So we just visited your house, visited the neighborhood, and Alex, the reality is there's not any evidence that anyone else was over at your house. It's okay. It's okay. But there was a there. Alex, do you want to tell us what happened? What really happened?
Alex, we're not here to judge you at all. Like I said,
I went downstairs, and the man was there. My father. I got shot. He left. Alex, that's not what the evidence is showing.
there's a reason why something bad happened. And I know you know that reason, but I don't. And I want to understand it.
But I don't know.
Well, you do.
The Iowa High School Music Association is proud to present the John F. Kennedy High School Marching Band.
A member of the high school marching band, Alex Jackson seemed to be the all-American kid. He had worked hard to become an Eagle Scout. Alex did not drink, did not use drugs.
It just added another wrinkle to the disbelief of the whole situation.
Gunshot there, it looks like a through and through.
We were at the hospital for just over 4 hours.
I'm going to roll your knee up just a little bit.
We don't want to confront somebody whose family has just been murdered in the event that they're not the ones who did it. However, when things don't make sense, you then have to ask those hard questions.
I'm okay with the fact that you haven't been completely honest about this. And you haven't.
Why would I do something like this?
To make it look like something.
But I didn't.
Every time we talk about it, I can see right now, your baby tells me that your heart's beating real fast.
Yeah, I'm getting mad. In fact, my family slaughtered in front of my house.
The one?
This did.
When you say they were slaughtered in front of your eyes, what do you mean by that?
Oh, they're dead.
There were moments of regret where, oh gosh, my whole family's dead, but he was very intentional on not being tied down to any more detail than he was willing to give.
There's issues in your house with your family that you're having. You gotta share those with us. I don't have issues with my family. When's the first time you thought about this scenario? I didn't do it, okay? I would never hurt my family. They are important to me. I love them. You may not understand that, but I love them.
Alex, your sister was in her bed.
Okay.
Okay. Burglars don't shoot 18, 19-year-old girls that are in her bed and not ransack the house and take stuff.
What's the worst thing she's ever done? That I don't like about this? Yeah. Maybe the Democrat. Did you say vote Democrat? That's the worst thing she's ever done. Yeah.
We did receive some information that he and his sister did not get along at all. They had significantly different political views, that she was afraid if he found out that she was bisexual, what he would do to her. There was definitely tension in their relationship.
And detectives learned that Alex, a junior at the University of Iowa, had struggled in his classes during the pandemic lockdown.
I think COVID may have been a factor. In that last semester, he basically flunked out of school. He didn't pass any of his classes. Dad's paying for college, so he can't be happy that he's paying for classes that you're not passing.
I think we're getting somewhere. I think this school thing is part of the problem. I don't want to pay thousands of dollars for my kids to go piss down their leg in Iowa because they don't want to get focused. Okay?
It's not fun feeling like you're disappointing your family.
My parents, it's me.
Once he stuck to his guns, it's kind of like you dig yourself into this hole.
I don't understand how you escaped carnage in that house. Everyone in that house was shot in the head. Except for you, you've got this superficial tiny little wound in your foot. Oh, makes no sense at all.
That looks like it hurts.
You know when I go to shoot my mother, that's why we hurt.
It didn't hurt that bad?
Well, it hurt, but, you know?
Just a strange statement, right? No one wakes up in the morning and wonders what it would feel like to get shot in the foot with a firearm unless you intend to get shot in the foot with a firearm that morning.
Huh?
I want the guy found.
Yeah, well, we found the guy.
Come here.
Yeah.
That's your shooter.
Yeah, we did. Uh-huh.
It's not me.
Well, I didn't say it was you. It's offensive that I just spelled out
Alex, here.
all of the evidence to you, and that you're going to sit here and tell me, basically, I think you're dumb, is what you're saying without saying it. I think that's offensive.
Alex, hey, Alex, you're the one that didn't lose her family. Alex,
Okay. Because I didn't kill my family, that's why.
There were a couple of points during that interrogation where the feeling was that he might have opened up and was close to giving, but it never tipped. The scale never tipped. He never confessed.
That's not funny.
So after surgery, Alex was brought to the police department.
We wanted to give him one last opportunity to explain to us why this happened and maybe even change our mind on why.
He sticks to the story. He could tell, like the gig was up, and then we let him know that he's being charged with the murder of his mom, sister, and father.
You're being charged with murder.
And there's no reaction. I mean, he just, almost like he expected it.
Start tonight at 10 with breaking news just into the newsroom in the last 20 minutes or so. Cedar Rapids police now say a 20-year-old man is facing 3 counts of first-degree murder after allegedly shooting and killing his parents and younger sister.
How does this Eagle Scout get charged with murdering his parents and his sister? It, on the surface, just did not make sense.
A historic murder case in Cedar Rapids, Iowa is finally going to trial more than a year and a half after 20-year-old Alex Jackson was accused of killing his parents and sister.
A triple homicide anywhere would be a big story, but we hadn't seen one, I think, since 1982.
The biggest problem we had was this was a case of circumstantial evidence. It's human nature for people to think, I can't see a kid doing this to his parents or his sister.
Alexander Jackson lost a significant amount of weight. I'd guess well over 100 pounds. His hair was grown out. He wore a mustache and goatee. Very different than the Alexander Jackson from June 15th of 2021.
Mr. Scheer, are you prepared to proceed for the state?
I am, Your Honor.
You may.
Alexander Jackson, I want you to think that he had the perfect family life. The evidence is going to show you what the truth is about this family dynamics. And it's not what Mr. Jackson claimed it to be.
And I wanted to paint right away, this isn't a loving family that the defense is going to come and try to show you.
This was a triple homicide. They find no evidence of any sign of anyone else inside that home that morning except for the defendants, Sabrina, Melissa, and Jane. There is no signs of forced entry. There is no signs of a struggle. And yet the defendant claims, and you'll hear this in this interview, that he didn't hear anything until after the fact and had this struggle with this mystery man down in the basement. And that's how he got shot in the foot. He got shot in the foot after 3 people were dead. You hear about this unique Browning .22 rifle. A gun that was used on all 3 of the Jackson family members. You will see that there is only one person responsible for these events that happened on June 15th of 2021. The defendant, when he shot and killed them with that .22 Browning rifle. Ms. Garner, are you prepared to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Having just seen his father lying in a pool of blood on the ground, with a gunshot bleeding from his foot, in shock, as officers say, heavily medicated with fentanyl, officers wasted no time at all accusing Alexander Jackson of killing his family. You're going to hear that Alex was raised by loving parents. He had great relationships with his mother and his father both, spending time with them, helping them out around the house. There's no history of mental illness. You'll hear nothing except he enjoyed band. He enjoyed scouts. He was respectful to his teachers, respectful to his parents.
The strongest point that they had was that there were just missing pieces to this puzzle.
This was a home invasion with an unknown motive. An intruder who escaped out the back door and left it open. The evidence will show that the police made very little to no effort in this investigation. Alexander Jackson was the fourth victim in this case. There's no doubt this is a tragedy, no doubt at all. Do not compound this tragedy by convicting Alexander Jackson of murder. Thank you.
The prosecution began with the neighbor from across the street.
My name is Lydia Yang,
whose home surveillance camera showed no one coming or going from the Jackson home.
Ever see anybody that seemed alarming or concerning to you, wondering what this person's doing in the neighborhood?
No.
State calls Brandon Bosenberg, Your Honor.
All right.
Our investigator, Brandon Bosenberg, handles tons of firearms as part of his regular course of investigating crime scenes.
Is that the gun that killed those 3 people?
Yes.
He could not figure out how to load this weapon without watching a YouTube video.
So I did refer to a video to see how to properly load this rifle.
And then of course loading is done right here inside the stock. It does have a tubular magazine that feeds the rounds into the chamber.
Did you form an opinion as to whether or not during these killings that firearm had to be reloaded?
Yes, there would have had to have been a reload at some point in the process.
It told us that the person who used the firearm knew how to use a gun that even our expert couldn't figure out initially.
Just for the record, can you please provide us with both your first and last name?
Matthew Denlinger.
The key witness for the prosecution was the lead detective, Matthew Denlinger.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be giving this afternoon will be the truth?
I do.
And Denlinger was used to introduce some important video evidence, the interrogation of Alex Jackson.
Alex, do you want to tell us what happened? What really happened?
The jury saw all 4 hours of the interrogation.
Why would I do something like this? To make up my life. But I did.
Any concerns about your interview that you conducted with Alex Jackson about him not understanding what you're asking him?
No, I mean, that was a fairly lengthy interview, and at the beginning of the interview and at the end of the interview, he seemed to be tracking quite well and answering and seemed to understand what was going on.
When you interviewed the defendant, do you recall how much he said he had in his bank account?
$30.
And do you know through your investigation and who would get the Jackson's estate?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for hearsay.
The objection's overruled. You can answer the question.
Presumably he would.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Cross-examination, Mr. Johnson.
A well-experienced public defender against the most well-respected investigator on the force of the second biggest police department in the state. It was something to behold.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Denlinger, you've heard the expression never say never, right?
I have.
The defense attorney is extremely experienced, so he knew what he was doing, but I came prepared.
And Alex Jackson's lawyer, Tyler Johnston, was sharply focused on the emergency room interrogation of his client by Detective Denlinger.
So when you went to the hospital, you knew that Mr. Jackson had been shot in the foot, right?
I did, yes.
That he could very well be traumatized.
Yes.
He could be in shock.
Yes.
And he was under medication, right?
Well, again, I think we've just covered that, but...
All right, fine. And you chose to go interview him at that time?
Yes.
Knowing the effects that trauma can have on someone, right?
Yes.
Knowing the effects of what medication can have on someone?
Yes.
The fact that he had been on fentanyl and that we chose to interview him right there seemed to be a really big sticking point for the defense.
You even asked the nurse to hold off on the pain meds for 15 minutes, right?
Yes.
Because you know what effect the medication can have on somebody's ability to accurately relate information to you, right?
I was worried it might cause him to fall asleep or something.
Didn't have to interview him then.
You said that before, but I mean, if you think about it, if I don't interview him there, the one person that witnessed this happen, the one person that could provide information, and I wait 72 hours because the gunman who murdered 3 people and shot him is wandering out in the neighborhood, he dies in the emergency room, and now we got no information. Like I said before, I'd fire myself if I did something that stupid.
The defense failed to get Investigator Denlinger riled up. He stayed calm, he stayed objective, and was even able to give his opinion as to the theory of this crime, how this crime was committed, and who committed it.
So, if I got your testimony straight, so Mr. Jackson shoots himself in the foot in his bedroom. Is that what you're saying?
It looks that way.
There's no bullet found in that bedroom, was there?
No.
No shell casing found in that bedroom?
No, but he also had a shell casing in his hand at one point.
So you think that after he shot himself, he took the firearm back up the hallway and dropped it off on the other side of his father. Is that your theory?
That's exactly what I think happened.
I felt like that was a mic drop moment, and I just shook my head in agreement that I agreed that is exactly what happened in this case.
Thank you. No further questions.
Police officers are not generally permitted to present their opinion as to the theory of the crime. I don't think that's what the defense intended when they asked the question that opened the door to that response. Jordan and I were in shock that it came out.
As the defense began its case, the first decision was whether to have Alex testify and open him to cross-examination by prosecutor Monica Slaughter.
So you understand that whether or not you testify is solely your decision, not your lawyer's decision, not my decision, not anybody's decision except yours. Do you understand that? Correct. All right. Is it your decision then to not testify in this proceeding?
It's my decision not to testify.
I think that might have been the right decision because I was fully prepared. So yes, if people perceive me as intimidating or a hard prosecutor, I can take that. I believe I was ready for Alex.
So the bulk of the defense case was built on Alex's background and character, his best friend, Ryan Burrick.
How would you describe your friendship with Alex?
Pretty long and a good one.
Did you ever know Alex ever get in trouble with the law?
No.
Or get in trouble at school?
No.
Did he ever get in fights?
No.
They were basically trying to say that Alex is a good kid. He had a great family life. He was a hard worker.
Garrett Barton was a member of Alex's Eagle Scout troop.
Did you ever see Alex and his mother interact?
A few times at scout meetings.
Did you ever see him be unruly to his mother?
No.
Ever mean to his mother?
Nope.
Did you ever notice him being disrespectful to his father?
No. Mr. Scheer, cross-examination? Just a couple, Your Honor. Good morning, sir. Good morning.
The cross-examination was handled by prosecutor Jordan Scheer, an Eagle Scout himself.
My brother's an Eagle Scouts. My father is still our scoutmaster. From what I know in scouting, only the second or third Eagle Scout that's ever been charged with this type of crime.
It sounds like the last time that you guys physically saw each other was around 2016?
Correct.
And by then, you don't know how his relationship was with any of his family members, correct?
Correct.
The defendant hadn't been a part of that world for several years, and the people that knew him 4 or 5 years ago don't know who he has become. So what, that he was an Eagle Scout?
Ms. Slaughter, are you ready to make your argument for the state? You may.
June 15th, 2021. Alexander Jackson makes a call to 911. He says that he's been shot in the foot, that someone broke in, but never in that 911 call do you hear the defendant yell out to his sister, "Sabrina, I've been shot. Dad's been shot. Are you okay?" Nothing. And the reason the defendant isn't calling out to his sister is because he knows that she's dead. He doesn't call out to his mom. "Mom, I've been shot. Mom, are you okay? Mom, help me. Check on Dad." Because he knows his mother is also dead. The defendant said he thought it'd hurt worse getting shot in the foot. He thought it would hurt worse. That's not something that's contemplated. You think about what it's going to feel like to get shot in the foot when you've planned to try and cover up 3 murders that you've committed by shooting yourself in the foot, ladies and gentlemen. Thought it hurt worse. This was not some random intruder that breaks in and executes a family that he doesn't know with a gun that he didn't bring with the hope to steal things that are never stolen. Where there's a struggle with a huge man and a tall man, a black man with green shoes wearing all black and a ski mask with gloves on. Makes no sense. The murderer in this case that you're looking for, ladies and gentlemen, is seated right behind me. And that murderer is Alexander Jackson. There is only one conclusion that you as jurors are going to be able to reach, and that is that this defendant is guilty of all 3 counts of murder in the first degree. Thank you.
We're now turning it over to Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, are you prepared to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Why would Alexander Jackson kill his family? It makes no sense. This was a normal family. This was a happy family. He was an Eagle Scout. An Eagle Scout. There's simply no motive for Alex to do this. And no motive has ever been proven.
There was never going to be a reason good enough that would explain why a person who otherwise seemed normal and happy in life wakes up one morning and decides that they're going to kill their entire family.
Home invasions happen. They happen, unfortunately, all over the country. When you look at this neighborhood, if someone was going to do a home invasion, this would be the perfect neighborhood for it. This is a picture of Alex when he gets there at the hospital. You can see in his eyes the shock and the terror. And Sarah Lacina says, is your foot real bad? Do you think you can hold off on pain meds for maybe 15 minutes for us to talk to you? Can you imagine if you were Alex's parent in that situation? Would you stand for that? Would anybody stand for that? For us to sit back and Monday morning quarterback what he said and how he said it when he's in this condition, while he's been given pain medication, to judge his responses and the way he said them and the accuracy of those things is tantamountably unfair. We believe that reasonable doubt is all over this case. Alex had no reason to want to harm his family. And we would ask that you return a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
It had been a 6-day trial, but the jury was out for only 6 hours.
When you're waiting on a verdict to a murder in the first degree times 3 does not feel like a short verdict.
So it was a packed courtroom as the jury came back in. You could tell there were a lot of people waiting to hear what this verdict was going to be.
Members of the jury, has the jury reached a verdict in this matter?
Yeah.
All right, if you'd like to, are you the foreperson? All right, if you'd like to hand that to Terry. Thank you. All right, would the parties please stand? As to each of the 3 counts, form of verdict 2 has been executed. We, the jury, find the defendant, Alexander Jackson, guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree.
First person to react to that was Tyler Johnston, the public defender, and he just leaned over to Alex, and you couldn't hear him, but you could see his mouth say, "I'm sorry."
There was this little grin on his face. You just saw the corners of his mustache go up just ever so slightly, and that was really the only reaction from him.
We're just very sorry for Alex. Alex is 22 years of age and is going to spend the rest of his life in prison for a crime that he didn't commit.
Alex wanted everyone to think that he was the victim in this case, and we're very glad today that that was proven to not be true. We just want everyone to know that Jan, Melissa, and Sabrina were incredibly loved, and they have a family who loves them, and a family that will keep them in our hearts.
This set of murders shook this community to its core. The heinous, brutal nature of each of these homicides warrants the court imposing 3 consecutive life sentences.
As it is Mr. Jackson's position that he didn't commit these crimes, I'm not going to argue with the prosecution about the nature and circumstances of the way these crimes were committed. Mr. Jackson to this day maintains his innocence.
Mr. Jackson, is there anything you would like to say?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Then at this time, Mr. Jackson is adjudicated to be guilty of 3 counts of murder in the first degree. In each count, he is sentenced to be confined for the remainder of his life with no possibility of parole. Sentences shall be served consecutively with each other, and we are adjourned.
The only word I can use to describe what happened to this family is tragic. There is not a winner in this case. The Jackson family should not be dead, and that young man should not be spending the rest of his life in prison. Tragic.
We are here at the Jensen home. We were called this afternoon for a death investigation.
An otherwise healthy 40-year-old woman was found dead in her bed.
Is it an accident? Is it a suicide? Is it a homicide?
I was a young mother with 2 young boys. She was a young mother with 2 young boys, and it's like, how is this possible?
Julie had a one-night sexual relationship with one of her co-workers. Someone began harassing and stalking Julie Jensen by leaving pornographic photos around the house. The internet searches consisted of searches for ways to kill someone, searching for ethylene glycol poisoning.
Ethylene glycol is the primary constituent element of antifreeze, which predominantly was done by suicide, not by homicide.
It is my opinion that Ms. Jensen was at high risk for suicide.
We're having a whole trial on the topic of whether Julie's crazy.
Did the state prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Jensen caused Julie's death? Or did they prove to you that Mark Jensen wasn't a great husband and was kind of a jerk?
This is what he's going to tell you. How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything? We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Carroll Beach is a really pretty community with a lot of unique homes right on the lakefront of Lake Michigan in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Mark and Julie Jensen were well off. Mark made very good money as an investment advisor. Julie was a stay-at-home mom and took care of their older son until their next son was born, and then continued with the two boys.
It was 3 weeks before Christmas when the sounds of sirens told Julie and Mark's neighbors something horrible had happened.
Today's Thursday, December 3rd. We are here at the Jensen home. We were called this afternoon for a death investigation. Now going down the hallway to the room.
An otherwise healthy 40-year-old woman was found dead in her bed by her husband with her two young sons who were waiting outside.
I'm in the bedroom.
I saw Julie Jensen laying in bed, largely covered by bed covers. It appears as though she'd been laying on her back, and then she was rolled into this position kind of onto her side. She'd been sick for 3 days, and that morning, according to Mark Jensen, Julie was unable to get out of bed.
Kitchen area, there's a cabinet with a lot of prescription items in them.
There was a prescription for Ambien that had been obtained, and Julie had obtained a prescription for Paxil.
A drug prescribed for the treatment of depression.
We will be taking all of that.
We basically seized everything, and we seized the computer. And the computer is really how we ended up determining the cause and manner of death in this case.
The autopsy done the next day had failed to determine the cause of death, calling it pending.
Well, it's quite damaging to a criminal investigation because if you don't even know what caused the death, then you can't take the next step to determine the manner of death. Is it an accident? Is it a suicide? Is it a homicide?
It would take years to get a final determination of how Julie Jensen died, and only after unearthing some dark family secrets.
We went way back to 1990, 1991, because that's when there was marital difficulties for the Jensens.
Sometime in 1990, Julie had a one-night sexual relationship with one of her co-workers while Mark was out of town. She confessed that to Mark, and after deciding not to divorce and instead to stay in the marriage, someone began harassing and stalking Julie Jensen by leaving pornographic photos around the house, sometimes hang-up phone calls even when Mark was home. And she kept a log, and it was very, very lengthy, many, many, many pages long. And this kind of emotional torture, this psychological torture, went on for almost 7 or 8 years.
Julie finally went to see the family doctor. It was December 1st of 1998.
And that's when she essentially was telling the doctor, I'm depressed and miserable. And that was just days before her death, where she made those statements to the doctor.
It was on the day after Julie's body was discovered that investigators got their first break in the case.
Law enforcement was handed a letter, a sealed envelope from one of the neighbors. The neighbor said Julie had given this to him a week and a half or so before she died, and she told him, if anything happens to me, give this to the police.
The letter was quite revealing. In that letter, Julie talks about her fears about her husband, that she fears that he may do something to harm her. She says that their relationship has deteriorated to the polite superficial. She expressly states in the letter that she would never harm herself, that she would never leave her 2 sons without a mother. She took a photograph of a Post-it note that she found in his day planner that alerted her or aroused her suspicion. The note was written in Mark's handwriting, and in the list it says own drug supply, Librium, bag hands, syringe, So it certainly seemed that Mark Jensen was making a list of potential ways to murder someone.
But just as important for the investigation was what was found on the family computer.
The internet searches consisted of searches for ways to kill someone, searches for botulism, pipe bombs, a lot of unusual searches for a family home computer, especially where half the family consists of a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old.
And one internet search in particular caught the attention of investigators.
It was discovered that someone had been searching for ethylene glycol poisoning.
Ethylene glycol is the primary constituent element of antifreeze. Ethylene glycol is a very, very uncomfortable way to die because you become sicker and sicker and sicker. You start to have cardiac arrhythmia, you start to have difficulty breathing, and then ultimately your organs shut down and you die. It's a horrible, horrible way to die.
And ethylene glycol is not tested for at autopsy. That's a very rare thing. So unless there's a reason to test for it, it's not tested for.
So we asked the medical examiner to conduct another evaluation, and they found ethylene glycol in her blood, they found ethylene glycol in her stomach, and they found ethylene glycol in her urine, which was contrary to what the first lab had found.
I mean, it was a huge moment because, again, people should not have ethylene glycol in their system. So at that point, it's either going to be a very strange suicide or it's going to be a homicide.
4 months after Julie's death, lead detective Paul Retzberg brought Mark Jensen in for questioning.
You know, I was going through things here this morning, and I'm a little...
Mark didn't have to come in for that interview. He was not in custody at that point. He came in on his own, and he was just going to come in to try to clear up some minor details.
Retzberg had been one of the detectives who years earlier responded to Julie's complaints about the pornographic pictures.
And I said, well, there's one way we can find out for sure. What you need to do is get some handwriting samples of Mark. And she did. She got some of your notes around the house and all that stuff. Gave them to Officer Cosman. Officer Cosman ran them up to the crime lab, and the crime lab came back and said it was your handwriting on the photographs. And if you recall, at that point, we kind of ended the investigation because we told Julie that, Julie, if you want to proceed with it, it's between you and Mark. So you were the one that was leaving the photographs around the house. That was sure of.
You guys thought out making phone calls, get the pictures.
But you're telling me you never left them photographs around in the crime lab?
Well,
the crime lab draw. That's what you're saying to me.
in terms of me doing all the photos, yes.
Guess what?
Yeah, I mean, they're wrong that I was leaving the photos of it.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me.
But Detective Ratzberg was far from through with his questions for Mark Jensen.
We have a term for detectives like that. We call them pit bulls because once they latch onto something, they are passionate about it. And I think Paul showed his passion on this case.
Did you go up there and kill her or something like that? No.
It was a sad Christmas at the Jensen home in Wisconsin, following Julie's death in early December. But by the beginning of January, the mood began, new women began to show up. Kelly Labonte.
We saw in the emails that Kelly Labonte is coming to Wisconsin to visit Mark Jensen.
She moves in shortly after Julie's death as if nothing had happened. According to the family, she almost takes Julie's place in the home.
Was Kelly a girlfriend of yours? Or?
No, just a friend.
When I watched that interview with Mark Jensen, he could not even admit the truth that he was involved with this woman, Kelly Labonte.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that maybe this Kelly Labonte was, Julie had an affair before, and I thought maybe you two would be having an affair here with Kelly. Or maybe have you seen her now? Kelly at all?
No, okay. No.
So she's your girlfriend now, or at least somebody you're dating?
Friends
Would that be a fair statement of dating, or what do you mean?
I guess you would call it maybe a date. anything, but, that's, she's a friend of getting around together, but, yeah.
So before Julie's death, you didn't have any type of, you had limited contact with her?
Right.
But the detective knew that 3 months before Julie's death, Kelly had emailed Mark, IDLY, I do love you. Even more now, but no surprise. You are too wonderful for words.
As you know, I got your computer. And what was real curious to me, this is a printout of what was all in the computer. Okay, quite a bit here. And I noticed a lot here on poisoning information. I remember you telling me that she didn't do anything at all with the computer. Do you think at some point she was getting poisoned or something? Or once all this right? No idea what any other said. Well, come through it. There's a lot here. You didn't call up any of this stuff? Specific poisoning information?
So the investigation had to focus on who used the home computer. Certainly, if Julie Jensen had been using the home computer, it could suggest that she committed suicide.
But several of the key searches were conducted in the 2 days before she died.
So while Julie Jensen is incapable of even sitting up in bed by herself, someone is down the hall, in the den, on the home computer, searching for the symptoms of ethylene glycol poisoning and tracking the symptoms of ethylene glycol poisoning.
Since Julie's death, the medical examiner had advanced the theory that not only was she poisoned, but that Julie may have been smothered.
And somebody choked her or put a pillow over her face and smothered her. So the only person that could have caused her death would have been you, okay? Nothing like that occurred, you're sure? Okay. Then how do we explain her death? You're the only one there. You were the only one there, and you leave, she's alive. You come back, she's passed away.
That's what I love. Yeah.
That's a chess game, and Detective Ratsburg played it perfect.
Read this. This is the one your wife left me and Officer Rodkowski.
You see Detective Ratsburg finally confront Mark with that Julie's letter, the letter from the grave, as they say.
You could see the expression on his face change. You can see the wheels start spinning in his head, that he had no idea that Julie was on to him, that she suspected him.
It's her handwriting, right? Right? I mean, there's nobody else's handwriting there. I don't know, I wasn't there. But there's something, you had to do something. Okay? You had to, Mark. I mean, she just didn't die naturally. I'm not a doctor, not an expert on it. But you had to do something to cause her death, Mark. You're the only person that was there, and you're the only person that could have done anything. Well, how can I explain this to somebody else? We have, here we got, then Julie leaves us a letter, which I believe is somewhere a week before, and I'm not making this up, this is true evidence. And here we have Julie Jensen telling me that if she dies, you're the person that did it. Okay? We have a rocky marriage, and I'm not sure whether to believe you here or not, because you kind of led me here on some of this other stuff. A 41-year-old young female does just not stop breathing. You had to do something, Mark. I wasn't there, you were. You need to tell me what happened to her so I can get this matter cleared up. Be honest with me, be straight with me, Mark. Be a man. Tell me what happened to her. I need to know. What happened? Mark, there's no question about that. You were the only one there. I mean, look at the evidence that's here. I went through it kind of diligently with you. Tell me, what took place?
Nothing more but what happened.
You didn't get on top of her? No. You did something. I need to know what. Be truthful with me, Mark.
I did nothing.
then how did she stop breathing, Mark? I don't know. I honestly don't know. She didn't stop breathing by herself. It doesn't happen that way.
When I watched that interview with Mark Jensen, I thought he was guilty and that he was a liar.
But Mark consistently denied he had killed his wife, and without a confession, prosecutors felt they had no choice but to let him leave and go home.
In March of 2002, the unanimous assessment was that we just didn't have enough evidence to charge this case out. I had a young woman dead. The actual cause of death at that point appeared to be ethylene glycol poisoning, which predominantly was done by suicide, not by homicide. And I had years-long campaign of harassment that Mark Jensen categorically denied that he was responsible for. It was as good as it was going to get. The tipping point was I saw the photograph in the newspaper that Mark and Kelly Labonte had announced that their engagement. So I saw that, and I saw victim number 2 coming down the pike here. I thought that if things don't go my way, at least I've warned Kelly Labonte, and I've warned Mark Jensen, we're looking at you, and you're not going to get away with this if you do it again. So in March of 2002, I charged Mark Jensen with first-degree intentional homicide for the murder of his wife, Julie.
Jensen was able to post bond and return home, continuing to raise his 2 sons, David and Douglas.
They spent their entire childhood essentially with their dad and then with Kelly Labonte, who then moved into their home and then became their stepmother. You know, all the while being told that their mother committed suicide. And then as we get to the trial, they're told, no, not only did your mom commit suicide, but she arranged it so that it would look like dad killed her.
It took 6 years for the case to go to trial because of a legal dispute over the centerpiece of the prosecution case, Julie's so-called letter from the grave.
The admissibility of the letter was heavily litigated. The state wanted it in, the defense did not.
At issue was what's called the Confrontation Clause in the United States Constitution.
The Confrontation Clause says that the accused has the right to confront the witnesses against him. And Mark's argument has been that, hey, Julie's letter is a statement, and I can't confront this witness. I can't because she's dead.
If the defense is going to say Julie Jensen is suicidal, then Julie Jensen should be able to say that she is not.
Judge Schrader concluded that Mark Jensen had forfeited his right to cross-examine Julie Jensen, so therefore the letter was admitted into evidence against him. And the letter played a very significant role.
Julie took that letter and she folded it up in an envelope and she said, hold on to this for me, and if anything happens to me, give it to the police.
Mark Jensen was found guilty after a 7-week trial.
After the verdict, the jurors were asked what was the most important piece of evidence, and they all said that it was the letter.
I have sentenced scores of people. You contemplated and planned and plotted this cruel method of execution for so long a period of time. The wickedness and cruelty of the manner of death that you elected in this case speak to the content of your character. There are a limited number of people who would do something like that, and those people are people that we need to remove from society. So unless there is some reason why sentence should not now be pronounced, I'll ask that you stand for sentence, please. Mr. Jensen, it is the sentence of the court that your custody be committed to the Department of Corrections for confinement in the Wisconsin state prisons without possibility of parole for the remainder of your life.
And then 3 years later, a federal district judge orders a new trial.
The letter should not have been admitted.
It's a terrible phone call to have to make to the victims, to the family. But in terms of his case, he was once again presumed innocent.
That decision from the federal court was a huge, huge blow. Just the idea of having to retry this case after so many years.
You know, when you're facing the other challenge of having that one piece of critical evidence thrown out, that's another big challenge.
But it would be a second chance for Mark Jensen to prove his innocence.
I think he thought without the letter that he could just convince everyone that she committed suicide. He thought he could beat it.
We are heading into the case of Wisconsin versus Mark Jensen. This is a retrial, his retrial, for the man accused of poisoning his wife with antifreeze back in 1998.
I thought Mark Jensen looked just as smug as he did the first time. A little bit older, but otherwise just as smug and arrogant as he was the first time, in thinking that this time he'd get away with it.
Former District Attorney Robert Jamboys had retired, but he wanted to come back for this trial.
This happened on my watch. I was going to make sure that justice was done in this case.
Adding his wife Beverly, also a lawyer, to help shape a case without the use of Julie's so-called letter from the grave.
I told my husband, I really don't think you need the letter. There's so much evidence against this guy, and let's just do it.
Is the state ready to proceed with their opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
Carly McNeil is the Deputy District Attorney in Kenosha County.
This is Julie Jensen. She's with her two sons, David, the older boy, and Douglas, the little boy.
The prosecutor told the jury that the family computer from 1998 would be at the center of the case.
You'll see in this computer evidence the research into websites about poisoning, and then specifically ethylene glycol poisoning. From the evidence, we know that the person doing this internet research, that's the person who killed Julie Jensen. And we know from the evidence that that person was not Julie. It was the defendant.
Jensen watched showing no emotion, wearing earphones because of a hearing issue.
And as Julie lay dying that morning of December 3rd, 1998, he went to the computer room, and that morning, he searched for ethylene glycol poisoning. You can see the search term on the bottom of the screen here. This is Julie Jensen. She didn't kill herself. She lived for her kids, and she died because the defendant murdered her.
The defense is going to do their opening statement. Attorney Renner, you can proceed anytime you're ready.
Thank you.
Mackenzie Renner was assigned to the defense from the County Public Defender's Office.
What brings us here today is Julie Jensen's suicide. The suicide of a woman who was in declining mental health. At the very end of this trial, you're going to be asked to answer one question. Did the state prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Jensen caused Julie's death? Or did they prove to you that Mark Jensen wasn't a great husband and was kind of a jerk? Because those are two very different things. Let's talk a little bit more about this computer evidence. Doesn't take the most intelligence to pop up a search engine and type in some words. The evidence in this case is absolutely going to show that Ms. Jensen was suicidal. The evidence is going to show that Mr. Jensen, while not being perfect, is not a murderer. He is innocent, and he is not guilty.
The state can call their first witness.
State calls Ruth Forwell to the stand.
Ruth Vorwald was a neighbor and close friend of Julie's, members of the same book club.
So we did start this new case with Ruth Vorwald because, she still had an emotional reaction to Julie's death.
It was just shocking, and it just broke my heart. I mean, I was a young mother with 2 young boys. She was a young mother with 2 young boys, and it's like, how is this possible?
Did you attend Julie's wake?
Yes. And he was literally standing 5 feet from her casket, laughing and joking with a group of men the entire time. He just lost his wife, the mother of his children, and he's acting like he's at a cocktail party. It was upsetting.
And then a school teacher for Julie's son, Teresa DeFazio, who said Julie had confided in her at a parent-teacher conference.
She was worried that he was going to try and kill her with an overdose of some kind of drug.
When you're having this conversation about Ms. Jensen's fear about her husband killing her, was the idea of suicide ever brought up?
She never mentioned suicide, no.
And did she ever say anything to you about whether she would commit suicide?
Oh, she said to me that she was doing all of this to protect her relationship with her kids, because she said, I would never leave my children.
The prosecution theory of Mark Jensen's motive centered on the women with whom he was having an affair and then married after Julie's death.
Kelly Jensen, or Brooks.
He had a new woman in his life. So it made it very clear what Mark Jensen's motive was.
They had a child together, but divorced after he was convicted in the first trial.
Do you recall the first time that you and the defendant had sexual relations of any sort?
It would have been, I believe, around September.
September of 1998?
Yes.
It was 3 months before Julie died.
And so then on Friday, October 16th, 1998 at 9:21 a.m., he emails you, hey, want to run off somewhere? I do love you.
Yes.
All right, and so what is your response then?
Considering you have a milestone birthday next year and we would both need some time to clean up our lives, so to speak, I was thinking what a lovely way to spend your birthday. You, me, sunsets, ocean, champagne, no outside issues.
So when you're considering whether this cruise can be a reality, you got to clean up your lives first.
Right.
The state calls Edward Klug.
All right, let's have him come in.
Edward Klug, who didn't come forward for many years after Julie Jensen's death, ultimately told us he and Mark got drunk. They were complaining about their wives, and Mark Jensen informed Ed Klug that there are ways to kill your wife that are undetectable at autopsy.
Basically, the websites that you could go to search how to kill your wife. And it was just like the craziest thing that I ever heard, that, an educated person would say something like that.
Okay, and so what do you remember him mentioning in terms of the kinds of things he was looking up?
Sure. He was looking up poison, and he was telling me that you could get items that would be non-detectable in a normal autopsy. He was looking at ways that, he would put somebody to sleep, and put something in. He said you could put it in drinks, have them drink it.
And did he mention any other substances?
He said like ethylene glycol, and I didn't know what ethylene glycol was. And then it's antifreeze.
What was the problem that Mark Jensen had in his life when he was saying these things to you?
Well, the problem was he didn't want to pay maintenance. He, wanted to have everything and have his new friend Kelly move in with him.
And to be clear, it was not you and Mark mutually talking about killing your wives?
That's correct. I was not planning on killing my wife.
Mr. Klug, can you tell us why you didn't tell the police or prosecutors or someone in authority about this conversation?
I was scared of Mark. I was scared of the fact that if he killed his wife, what could happen to me?
The next witness for the state is Aaron Dillard.
So, Mr. Dillard, you're wearing prison clothes, is that correct?
That's correct.
So you're an inmate right now?
Yes, I am.
Dillard and Mark Jensen were in the Kenosha County Jail at the same time after Jensen was first arrested.
Aaron Dillard told us that Mark confessed that he put the ethylene glycol in Julie's juice.
And he was kind of trying to make it look like she was trying to commit suicide.
And did he tell you what happened next after that?
Yeah, at that point he had her on her side. Then he rolled her on her stomach, and he was seeing how she was doing then, and she wasn't breathing any. She was breathing the same. She wasn't breathing any worse. So at that point he felt nervous and figured he had to do something on his own, and he sat on her back and then pressed her face into the pillow.
Did he tell you what happened when he sat on her and with her face pushed into the pillow?
Yeah, she passed away.
Typically, I don't rely on jailhouse informants, but there was no way that an inmate could have come up with this information unless Mark Jensen told it to him.
Mr. Perry, you can start your cross.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Dillard, you agree you're a con man, don't you?
Yes.
You testified that you have a special skill set. Do you remember that?
I don't know if it was a special skill set, but it was just I was able to get people to talk or get things that I wanted.
That's what caused you to decide to push for information so that you could tell your attorney and get a deal.
Well, it was first I was trying to see how far he would go, and then he went. So then I decided to use it to help myself.
And you said, Mark, how did you get the antifreeze? And then he just gave you a full confession.
Pretty much worked out like that. He told me about the Edward Klug thing and then went into the rest of it.
Now, there's another deal for you for your testimony today, isn't there?
I don't know if it's a deal or not. It's just their prosecution's going to write a letter saying I testified truthfully.
Truthfully, as determined by Mr. Jamboys as it was in 2008.
The truth is the truth.
And in that case, you got no jail.
Correct.
After getting that letter.
Correct.
No further questions.
Good morning. It's nice to see all the jurors back this morning. Seeing that it's already week 4 of the trial, everybody is still here.
Our next witness will be Dr. Sarah West.
The defense case depended largely on its expert's testimony about Julie Jensen's mental state, referring to a description of Julie's sleep problems found in her doctor's notes as a sign of clinical depression.
One would look at both people who sleep too much and aren't sleeping at all.
In your estimation, as a forensic psychiatrist in this matter, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to Julie Jensen's suicide risk?
I do.
And what is that opinion?
It is my opinion with a reasonable degree of medical certainty that Ms. Jensen on December 3rd, 1998 was at high risk for suicide.
But on cross-examination, prosecutor Bob Jamboys focused on the fact that it was Mark who had noted the sleep problems in the doctor's report.
So the only issue about sleep problems didn't come from Julie Jensen, did it?
That's correct. It came from Mark Jensen.
Yes, Mark Jensen. And you know, Mark Jensen, in addition to her being husband, is also a murder suspect in this case. You're aware of that, correct?
He was not at the time.
Well, actually, he was. His wife, Julie Jensen, suspected that Mark was trying to murder her. You were aware of that, weren't you?
Yes, but he was not a murder suspect on December 1st, 1998.
Well, his wife suspected that he was trying to kill her, right?
Yes.
No further questions.
All right. You're excused. Thank you. Who's our next witness?
It's David Jensen. David, can you tell us who your parents are?
Mark Jensen and Julie Jensen.
He didn't testify at the first trial, but now as an adult, he was called by the defense.
And how old were you when Julie Jensen passed away?
I was 8 years old.
David was asked to recall the day his mother was found dead in her bedroom.
At some point, did your dad come back down that hallway?
Yeah, yes. I don't remember how long exactly it was, but he came out crying not terribly long after he went down.
David, when you saw your dad coming down that hallway, sobbing or crying, had you ever seen him that way before?
That was the first time I'd seen him cry.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
All right, you're excused. Thank you.
When I was watching David testify, I was thinking how immensely proud Julie would be of this young man. He came across as a very kind, loving person.
The issue was brought up of whether the defendant was going to testify or not. All right. Have you made a decision?
I have.
Do you understand that the decision whether to testify is for you to make?
I do.
And what is your decision?
I want not to testify.
You're not going to testify?
Correct.
All right. Ms. McNeil, you can do your closing argument.
Good morning, everyone. 2023, this year, is the 25th year stolen from Julie Jensen. With her death, Julie Jensen lost David and Douglas. And in death now, nearly 25 years later, she's labeled as crazy. We're having a whole trial on the topic of whether Julie's crazy. Mark Jensen, who had tormented and punished and never forgiven his wife for years, found her replacement and then killed her. He thought he could trick Julie and the police, and honestly, if it ever came down to it, a jury. You'll believe Julie, and you'll find the defendant guilty.
Mr. Perry, you can start whenever you're ready.
So, who was Julie Jensen? We heard from witnesses that Julie Jensen was a lovely human being. We heard from witnesses that she was a devoted mother. But you can be lovely and you can be devoted to your kids and you can be mentally ill. And Julie Jensen was mentally ill. She had a major depressive disorder and was at high risk of suicide. This case is tragic on so many levels. There's depression, there's suicide, and there's an innocent man on trial for homicide. Mark Jensen is innocent, and we ask you to return a verdict of not guilty.
The jurors that did deliberate have informed the bailiff that they have a verdict. I'll ask the foreperson who has the verdict. Is that correct? We, the jury, find the defendant, Mark D. Jensen, guilty of intentional homicide of first degree as charged in the information.
I was elated. I was absolutely elated and deeply gratified.
Neither of Mark Jensen's grown sons came to the sentencing, but his younger, Doug, now 28, sent the court a letter.
He said that his mother was erased from his life. He said he learned more about his mother while listening to the trial than he had ever heard before. That is a terrible tragedy, and that's what the defendant did to his own kids. And I'm asking the court to impose a life sentence without parole. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Jensen.
I have always tried to make a difference and do everything I could the right way.
Jensen offered no acknowledgement or remorse for the murder of Julie, focusing only on his sons.
While in prison, I made every effort to continue to be there for my sons. Doug is hurting. I can tell that from the letter he wrote to the court. I wish I could take that hurt away, but I can't. Please grant parole eligibility so that the family and I can move forward and heal. I can work to understand and find acceptance with the verdict. I can be there for my family who needs me. And please provide me the opportunity to show I can continue to do something positive with my life. Thank you.
The prison sentence has to be life in prison. I can't change that. The only issue for the court is whether the defendant will be eligible for parole. What he chose to do is to torture her for a long time. This antifreeze The theory that somebody would drink that to commit suicide, I don't buy that. It was intentional, it was researched with a purpose for evil. He's not getting any parole eligibility. It's too serious of a crime to depreciate. It was too vengeful. No parole, life imprisonment. That is the judgment of the court.
If anybody in the Wisconsin State Prison System deserves to be there for the remainder of his days, to be carried out in a box, it's Mark Jensen.
I do hope that the boys, David and Douglas, see this as a final chapter and that they can see that their mother did not commit suicide, that she would not have left them, and that their...
Sir, hey, step away from the door for me. Hands where I can see them. I live here. Just finished unloading. I'm not reaching for anything. Neighbor called this in. Since you don't look like you belong, turn around. Before I do, am I being detained or am I Don't argue arrest? with me. Turn around, now.
Understood. For the record, this won't take long.
Dispatch to 214, identified.
The squad car lights cut across the quiet Chicago block like a warning flare. Cardboard boxes sat open on the curb, labeled in black marker, kitchen, books, kids' room. A man stood beside them, keys in hand, calm but alert. He had just unlocked his new home. Minutes later, he was face down on the pavement, wrists tightening in cold steel, accused of something he hadn't done. What the officer didn't know, what would fracture an entire department, was who this man really was, before the facts hardened into headlines. Stay with this story. Listen closely not just to what happens, but to how power moves, how silence speaks, and how one mistake can expose an entire system hiding in plain sight. The call came in at 7:18 p.m., routed through the city's non-emergency line before being upgraded by a dispatcher who'd learned, over years of repetition, which words carried weight. Suspicious mail, unknown intent, new homeowner unsure. The address sat on the western edge of a neighborhood mid-transition brick bungalows between fresh gray rehabs, lawn signs still staked in frozen soil. Sunset bled into the street, amber light flattening shadows, making everything look quieter than it was. Officer Daniel Reese heard only half of it. He was finishing the last sip of lukewarm coffee when the alert chimed through the cruiser. Suspicious person calls were common here. Training said to treat them as potentially volatile, especially after dark. The manual didn't say why. It didn't have to. Reese's mind filled in the rest, shaped by roll call briefings, crime maps, the low hum of warnings passed down without ever being written. He signaled acknowledgement and pulled away from the curb, tires whispering over damp asphalt. As he drove, he rehearsed the approach automatically, park at an angle, hands visible. Control the scene early. His field training officer's voice still lived somewhere behind his thoughts. If you don't establish command in the first 30 seconds, you're already behind. Reese slowed as he turned onto the block. He saw boxes on the sidewalk. A moving truck already gone. A man stood near the front steps. Keys dangling from one hand, phone in the other. No frantic motion, no pacing, just stillness. The cruiser door opened with a hollow thud. The body camera blinked red. The man looked out before being called to. He took in the uniform, the badge number, the posture. He didn't flinch. He didn't smile either. He waited. What's going on here? Reese asked, voice neutral, practiced. I'm moving in, the man replied, calm. Mid-40s, maybe older. His jacket was plain, well-worn. He gestured toward the boxes without turning his back. Just finished unloading. Reese nodded once. Training step 1, verify. This your residence? Yes. You have ID on you. The man paused not long enough to look evasive, just long enough to register the question. In the car, I can get it. Stay where you are, Reese said quickly. Hands where I can see them. The man complied without comment, placing both hands flat against his thighs. His breathing stayed even. The neighborhood had noticed now. A porch light flicked on. A curtain shifted. Someone stood across the street pretending to check their phone. What's your name? Reese asked. The man answered. The name didn't ring any bells. It wasn't meant to. Reese keyed it into his radio, waited for the familiar crackle of response. Nothing yet. Dispatch asked him to confirm spelling. He did. You mind telling me why a neighbor would call this in? Reese asked. I don't, the man said, but it wouldn't be the first time. Something in that landed heavier than it should have. Reese adjusted his stance. Sir, for my safety, I'm going to need you to step away from the house. I'm happy to comply, the man said, and did one measured step backward, exactly as instructed, but I'd like to understand what I'm being detained for. The word detained shifted the air. Reese felt it. He didn't like it. "You're not detained," he said. "This is an investigation." "Understood," the man replied. "Then I'll wait." Silence stretched. Dispatch came back, still running the name. No flags yet. Reese's hand hovered near his cuff case, a reflex he didn't consciously authorize. He noticed the man's eyes tracking the movement, not fearful, just observant, like someone who'd seen this dance before. "Turn around," Reese said. "Am I under arrest?" the man asked, still calm. "Turn around," Reese repeated, sharper now. The man exhaled once and complied, slow, deliberate, giving no room for misinterpretation. The cuffs closed with a clean